Welcome everybody to Open Mic Night number 58. So, my name is Blaise van Hecke. I'm co-owner of Busybird Publishing. For those, I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know me here. Kev Howard is the other half of Busybird Publishing. He's going to be recording all of the readings. If you don't want to be on YouTube, please tell him because otherwise you will. And we have our publications manager, Les up the back. He's standing up with the hat. He's going to be our timer. He's going to be the timekeeper. Tonight we have 5 minutes each. Ooh. And at 4.5 minutes, Les is going to ding the bell as a warning. At 5 minutes, he's going to double ding, and that means please finish the sentence you're on. If you go further on than that sentence, either that or we'll get the really vicious dog onto you. So I have the readers here, and just because they're in a certain order doesn't mean I do them in the order that you came in. I like to mix it up. Unless there's anyone who wants to go first or wants to go last. But no one has said anything, so you'll get what you get.
I think Alison says she wants to go first.
Unless you want to hear about the 2016 premiership.
So, tonight, the door prize will be Lesig's latest release here. Do-do-do-do. Now, this is very special because Les is with a different publisher than us. He can't sell the books himself. They get sold by the publisher through the bookshops. So this is one of his own personal copies, and he has offered this as the door prize. But obviously, if you'd like to buy one, if you don't win it or you want it for a friend, it's just a matter of going online or into your local bookshop. In fact, go to your local bookshop and ask them to get it in, because that helps the kind of cycle of books.
Just mug whoever wins it.
You could what? Mug whoever wins it. Les might be in a nice mood and might sign it for you if you want it signed.
Sorry, I'm Lesig Marnus tonight, not Lesig.
Lesig, sorry. Who are you?
I'm Lesig Marnus tonight, publications.
No, you're Lesig. So, a couple of little announcements first. One of our authors is her book's at the printer at the moment. So, Carol and Angeline, who we should have been here tonight, really, shouldn't she, Les? Yes. ADHD to the power of 3, the teenage years. So she has triplets with ADHD. Wow. She had already one child, and then she had the triplets. So she had 4 children under 2. Well, they would have been under. Is there 2 years between them?
No, it's
2.
18 months.
Okay, so she had 4 children under 2. Oh, I feel tired just thinking about that. And then, obviously, as they grew, it became apparent that they had ADHD. So you can imagine her life. And so she wrote about 8 years ago. She wrote her experiences, and this is like the follow-on. So this is the teenage years. And if you were on Facebook or were following her on Facebook, you would hear all the stories about them crashing they're now 21 or 22. Crashing their cars or getting girlfriends or all sorts of fun stuff that happens with them. But it's being launched by Shayna Blaise in, I don't know where it is, Mitcham, on the 14th of October. So I'll put that up on the table if anyone is interested in that. Also, I can't remember if we talked about this last month, but our Creative Fellowship is open. Time got away from us, and it is actually already open. What date are we on? 19th. It's been open for 3 weeks, so we've totally forgot about it. So, did we print some of these copies, Les? I think they're on the table. Yep. We have copies of this. So, what is this? You get, so the $5 that you pay to come into Open Mic Night, half of that goes towards this fellowship. The fellowship is $500 of cash, which you can do whatever you want with. And being cash, you don't have to tell the ATO. You might want to edit that out about it. You don't have to tell anyone about it. You can spend it on whiskey. You can spend it on workshops, whatever you want.
They can't tax prize money.
Sorry?
I don't think they tax prize money.
I don't know. Anyway.
Are you registered as a...
You also get to use Busybird Publishing spaces here for a year. So the fellowship goes for a year. You get to work with a mentor here at Busybird, so one of us, Les, Kev or I, depending on what your project is. You get free entry to all of our in-house workshops through the whole year. And you get, if you wanted to self-publish, you get discounted services. So I think that's pretty cool prize, if you like. So it is open from now until the 16th of October in terms of applying for it. So there are forms up there to apply. If you have any questions, let us know. I think, well, we've had 2 people so far? Yeah. Three fellowship winners. Yeah, 3. Lost track of time. The current one just had a baby, so she's been. We weren't responsible. So we haven't done a lot of work with her in the last couple of months because she was busy. So that's that. Let us start with Meganator. Story. Short of fuel and Bart? So what is bait?
Yes.
Bait. Come on up.
You awaken, but wish you hadn't. Ow, you're awake! I've been so worried! The halfling's voice echoes around you. Your eyes jar open, but you see nothing. Where are we? Who are you? And why is it so dark? A thought comes to you. Pen, is that you? Oh no! What have you done to Al? I'm Nat, Al. She's Pen, not me, states the first voice. Nat, what's going on? I think we've been kidnapped by the international mafia, who are threatening us with medieval weapons. Ah! You try to move your arms from behind to in front of you, but they can't obey. Your legs also ignore any command you give them, other than to dangle beside each other beneath you. Apparently we're all tied up. Oh no, answers a man. Not the mafia, but Goodwood Hydraulics, he tells you. What for? Something sharp jabs at your ribs as someone else hisses a shh at you. Ah, you groan in reply. You try to lift both your legs together and give them a kick, but all you do is grow bruises at your knees and ankles. More like eclectic electrics, and it's Jen, not Pen, Nat, another voice corrects. For the 1000th time, cries the second man you hear, tapping his sharp implement on your ribs. That is not Al, but Ah! Ah, who's that? Head of Fireblade Industries, notes Jen. Most wanted serial killer in the world. Supposedly, no one has enough evidence. What? No way, I never killed anyone, you shout in protest. A likely story, the third man was scoffing. And round here, stories are a penny apiece. But it's true, let us go. Doesn't matter, declares a fourth man. You no go anywhere until we catch real R. So you pray we find them soon, he says. And anyway, breathes another. All of us know that truth does not always beat fiction. Wait, please, wait. What are you going to do to me? Very simple, smirks the first man. Fireblade needs fuel. Eclectic needs bait. You will do very nicely as both. We will first use your legs. Writers don't need theirs. What? Of course I need my legs. No, you don't need them, states the fifth. You drive cars, take buses and trains. Or people drive you where you want to go. You are not a walker. Even if that is your name, you don't need to walk. We can start with the toes. Can't we just talk this over with, Eli? Jen asks. Eli says nothing, but might still be reasoned with. Oh, so typical of Goodwood, I might have guessed. Even when we have an 85% match in facial recognition, they still want to talk. I just don't think this warrants anyone losing a limb over, or toe, R or not. Let us keep them in our custody, and you keep watch for R. No, you will not! Not one of us will release these two. Jen, whispers Eli, so softly you can barely hear him. Start the engines, drop the hooks, and get ready to go. A pair of footsteps fade away. Machine generators warm up. Then sharp metal is unsheathed. What do you think you are doing? None need be hurt by my blade. But if you still want to cut a toe off, I won't agree. Eli, you do not want to do this. You will be the first to get hurt if you challenge me. Maybe so, Klaus. But at least I will have done so defending poor, helpless souls. Do you really think this pair is capable of hurting anyone? No, Eli, you will not allow their escape. Then, on behalf of Goodwood, sorry, Eclectic! Something sweeps under your ankles. The same swipes at your knees, slicing through the bonds. Your legs are freed. Jen, drop him! Hooks holding you up clang downwards so suddenly that you miss the opportunity to stand upright and instead collapse on the ground in an ungainly way. Oh, you hear Nat exclaim at a level beside you. No, you will not, Eli! Ah! Blast! Yells Eli. Pressurized jets blast over you, pulling groans from the men of Eclectic Electrics. Your blindfold is snatched from your face to reveal a silver-bearded man hauling you and the halfling to your feet. Everyone else has fallen and tends their bruises. Come on, Al, let's get out of here, calls Nat. Silverbeard beckons, and you guess he's Eli. Jen revs, powering engines in the fastest model of multi-man mover yet from Goodwood Hydraulics. I know a place, Eli shouts above the turbines. Land or water?
Thank you. Lillian Grace from her novel Quest for Riches.
Thank you, Blaise. So, is it going to work? While I'm finding my page, I have a celebration. I won third prize in a short story competition. And third doesn't sound great, but it came with $500, so that was really nice. And then after that, I won an encouragement award in another competition. So it was two in, I suppose, a couple of weeks. Okay, I think I can't find it, which is annoying.
So is it going to be published, the story?
The story? I don't think so. No, I don't think I heard anything about that. So, all right, here we go. So what I'm doing here, this book, Quest for Riches, is about 4 teenagers on a school trip to India. And the 4 teenagers represent 4 different money personalities. So last time I was here, I read 2 of the money personalities. This girl at the front, Tony, who is very entrepreneurial. The boy behind her, Eric, who's very methodical with money. And now I'm going to read to you about Brooke, who's dropping a purse there, so there's a clue. So Brooke had been avoiding the mall because she knew what she was like when it came to window shopping. If she saw something she liked, she would soon talk herself into buying it, especially if it was on special. But she had to do an errand here for her mother, so she had roped Kelly in for moral support. I didn't read this, did I? Sound familiar? No, okay, that's good. I'm going to walk all the way down there, she said, pointing straight ahead without even looking at those clothes shops, waving a hand on either side of them. Go, Brooks, Kelly said. But isn't the point being able to look and not buy? Impossible, Brooks said. Crap, Kelly set off. Tell me if you see something you want. I'm an expert at this now. But I don't want to look, Brooke objected, holding her hands on either side of her eyes as blinkers. Get over yourself, Kelly replied. You look like an idiot. Brooke quickly dropped her hands to her sides. Shit. Her favourite store had sale now. Everything 25% off. Signs emblazoned all over the windows. She turned away, biting her lip. You like their stuff, don't you? Kelly asked, veering towards the store. What are you doing? Brooke wailed, following her like Mary's little lamb. We promised. You're not going to buy anything, Kelly said. You're going to look and think about it and create a little gap. I can jump over little gaps in a single bound, Brooke said miserably. Her hand trailed along the outfits on the rack in the open doorway. Have you thought of asking for a job in here? Kelly asked. Oh no, that would be too dangerous. I'd spend my whole pay here. Okay, just an idea, because there is labour, you know. I know. I already have something on labour in here, Brooke confessed. So what would you like to buy? Kelly asked, almost like Santa Claus. We're not, are we? Brooke exclaimed with a little thrill. No, just asking. Oh, well, just about everything. That jacket, this top, that dress hanging up there, the pants on that and scarf on that model. Kelly shook her head. So about $300 worth. Is it? Brooke winced. But I wouldn't. It's just what I would like to buy. I know. So that's your incentive. You've got to get some kind of job that will let you earn that kind of money if you want to buy that much stuff. So look at it, feel how good it will be to wear all that stuff, imagine yourself in it, and get focused on a job. She turned Brooke by the shoulders and steered her away. Meanwhile, how else can you reward yourself? Other than chocolate, of course. Walking away from that shop without taking advantage of the sales gave Brooke like an actual physical pain. So that's one of them. So what I forgot to say was that this book is basically teaching financial literacy through a novel. So how much time have I got?
Minute and 9. No,
A minute. All right, well, in that case, I'll save that one for next time. And instead, I'm going to ask for, there is someone here who loved my other book. Where are you sitting? I took my glasses off. You did. And someone else did. So this is just shameless promotion. So if anyone is interested to find out more of my books, this one is a romance love story type of book, but with a lot of depth in it about relationships, about the hero's journey, the journey that we go on in tackling big challenges in our lives. And there's a very interesting journey with a big twist in this book. And it's also had a very interesting connection to my own life. There you go.
You've still got 30 seconds.
I know. And then there's this book, and I've got some others with me as well. Thank you, everybody.
And anyone who has published a book, I always encourage you to make sure you have copies, because there might be someone in the audience who wants to buy one. Jeff has written a personal story called Conscientious Objection about Vietnam. So welcome, Jeff.
Sorry to get a bit serious. I'll read from the back cover, which is the contents. This is my personal story of struggling with my conscience during the time of conscription and the Vietnam War. Selected in the first ballot during 1965, I was a bewildered and confused 19-year-old. I was also morally outraged. I was outraged by Australia's invasion of Vietnam. I was outraged at the very idea of conscription. I was aghast at the very thought of belonging to the military machine. I complied with the National Service Act and sought temporary deferment to complete my university studies. Upon successful completion, I applied to be registered as a conscientious objector based on my long-held Christian pacifism. So this is my story of what happened from 1965 to 1969, how I narrowly avoided conviction and jail for at least 2 years. The book is dedicated to all men and women of conscience everywhere and from any time. Just a couple little excerpts. There's no doubt that the Vietnam War has affected me greatly throughout my life. It's taken me 50 years to get to the position where I could write this story, before I could cope with reading once again about the horrors of that immoral war which was perpetrated in my name. First time I attended a performance of the musical Miss Saigon during the 1990s, I was so overcome with emotion that I couldn't speak during the interval. Now, I'm a sucker for a tragic love story, but the emotional impact was much more than that. It triggered feelings and experiences from the 1960s about the war, my conscription, and the tremendous struggle I had with my conscience. My court case was set down for the 23rd of January 1969. The court hearing was an ordeal for me and something I never wished to be repeated. The ordeal became worse when the magistrate ruled that I had not made a sufficient case to be registered as a conscientious objector. I can still remember my reaction to this day. The room and its occupants became a blur and whirled around in my head. I felt physically sick and was thinking only of what fate was to befall me. There was great fear, but also a strong desire to summon the courage to do what my conscience demanded. I was prepared to go to jail. Such was my emotional state that I was unaware that immediately after the magistrate had ruled against me, both my legal advocate and the state's legal advocate remonstrated with him and stated that I'd proved my case. The state's legal advocate stressed the testimony of my father. I was awakened from my stupor with the news that the magistrate had changed his mind. It took some time for this to sink in. The issue of non-combatant duties was, from memory, not explicitly discussed. I was registered as a conscientious objector to all things, both military, both combatant and non-combatant duties. Alf O'Connor, my legal counsel, Alf O'Connor, my father and I went to a nearby pub for a celebratory drink. The Reverend Sherry, also a witness, returned to his parish, declining to partake. It was an anticlimax, but I was relieved it was all over. I could resume my life and begin my career as an educator. If anyone wants a copy of the book, I'm quite happy to gift it to you.
I think, Jeffrey, your book would be good for secondary school students. You know, to open up discussion about that kind of thing. Might be something to look at. Richard Trembath, where are you sitting up there? Richard is going to read some poetry, and it is called Jigsaw.
One of the things I've been doing recently, or have done over the past few years, is read poetry from anthologies, various anthologies of poetry, and the one thing that I've found that most of them have in common is that in most of them, most of the poems, I've got no idea what the author is on about. And occasionally I read analytical thoughts and reviews of both poetry and things like song lyrics, etc. And what that indicates to me is that usually the reviewer hasn't got any more idea than I have. But all these poems have got to be in anthologies, and to me most of them are fairly obscure. So I sort of got the idea that perhaps what's the matter with my poetry is that I'm not obscure enough. I think that those of you who have heard my stuff mostly know what it's about. But I thought about that, and I thought, well, probably the poem that I've written that is most obscure is one that is published in my book, which I have with me and which is for sale in the company of strangers. And I'll read it for you. It's entitled Within the Soft Night's Warm Embrace. And after I've read it, I will invite any of you to tell us all what you think it's about. And after you've torn it to pieces, then I'll read it again, and once I've explained what it's about, perhaps you'll understand the poem better. Anyway, that's enough of a preamble. I've probably got 30 seconds left. Within the soft night's warm embrace, Hid by woman's precious ark, there lurks the dreaded spectre dark, and waits to strike where ego lies, the ark for which the newborn cries. 'Tis not her being, nor her soul, and yet it is what makes her whole, which fears the swift and healing blade that elsewhere sees her unafraid. She rises up, hark, hear her voice. Be strong, ye faithful, and rejoice. The choice is ours, and we, as one, choose life and do what must be done. Repel the reaper, strike the foe, cry loud, 'tis not my turn to go. Then reassume thy former grace within the soft night's warm embrace. Thank you. As I said, I would invite anybody to. It's not that obscure. So tell us all what it's about. Anyone? Joan, wonderful.
Resisting death and putting your heart and soul into living.
That's you get 7.5 out of 10. Anyone else? You can be more specific than that. See, nobody's got any idea. So,
Excuse me, but when we talked about this last week, I got it.
Yeah, Blaise got it. Blaise is smarter than most, though. Yeah. Rosemary.
Would it be about losing a child?
Not really, but anyone else? Okay. Well, I can find it again. What it's about breast cancer. Within the soft night's warm embrace, hid by woman's precious ark, there lurks the dreaded spectre dark, and waits to strike where ego lies, the ark for which the newborn cries. 'Tis not her being, nor her soul, and yet it is what makes her whole, which fears the swift and healing blade that elsewhere sees her unafraid. She rises up, hark, hear her voice. Be strong, ye faithful, and rejoice. The choice is ours, and we, as one, choose life and do what must be done. Repel the reaper, strike the foe, cry loud, 'tis not my turn to go. Then reassume thy former grace within the soft night's warm embrace.
It's actually a really interesting exercise, and I think with poetry and maybe even, longer stories, is that sometimes things depends on how good you are at listening when you hear something read out, or sometimes you find it better if you actually see the words in front of you and you can kind of look at them, and sometimes a poem needs to be read 3 times to really get the full gist of it. So it's actually a really interesting exercise, so thanks for that, Richard. Something a bit different. Makes us think about our words. Rhiannon is going to read a story with the title of Nature Diary. Welcome, Rhiannon. Sarah is another new reader. I don't think you've read before, have you? Was I here? I was away. So I said, I'm not that forgetful. So you're new to me? Yes. Sarah is going to read a short story called What Girls Talk About in the Bathroom.
Angela struggled to understand why it was that all of her crises seemed to take place in foreign bathrooms. Maybe it was a bit of an exaggeration to call them mental breakdowns, but they were, whichever way she tried to look at it, moments of extreme panic and undeniably critical points in her life. As she tried to calm down her quickened breath that was bordering on hyperventilating, she considered other times when she had been facing a crisis in the bathroom. Bad dates, of course, were an obvious event for this to take place at. Many times, Angela had found herself hurrying to the ladies' room to text or call a friend when the date had become a disaster. There were men who had had nothing to talk about, or worse, men who talked about nothing but themselves. In high school, Angela remembered the countless times she had run to the bathroom when crying over a bad science test result or a falling out with a friend. At parties and other social events, the bathroom was a place where women would convene in order to discuss their private affairs away from the prying eyes of strangers. Congregating together in the bathroom in times of crisis seemed to be a socially normative behaviour exhibited by women. And now, on her wedding night, Angela found herself in the worst predicament of her life as of yet, in the hotel bathroom. When she had begun dating George, her now husband, everything seemed perfect. All of the cliches were there. It seemed to Angela as if they had known each other for years when they had just met, or as if they had been together in another life. There was a familiarity about him that gave her a great sense of comfort. The only other person who she had related to as well as George was her childhood best friend, Isabel, and as the two girls grew in age, they grew apart. They lost contact. Now, for most people, the idea of marrying one's best friend sounded like a fairy tale ending to a romantic comedy. It was what everyone wanted, wasn't it? People said, I married my best friend, and you thought, well, that's how it should be, or they were made for each other. And women always wanted their best friend to be there on their wedding day as their maid of honour. For Angela, her best friend was there, but not in the capacity of maid of honour. The gender reassignment had gone so well, and the secret had been kept so well, that without knowing it, Angela had indeed married her best friend. Her childhood friend, Isabel, was now George, her new husband, and for once, Angela did not want her best friend to rush into the bathroom to comfort her.
Tony. Up the back. Tony Lopresti?
That's it.
Yeah?
Got it right.
He's going to read about hypnotherapy, an explanation of the hypnosis.
Yeah.
Come on up.
Hello. Well, I'm not going to read anything, so I didn't actually prepare anything. So I'm just going to wing it. It's got the top of my head. I'd just like to just explain to you lovely people what hypnosis is and what it is not. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. And there's some misconceptions that hypnosis and hypnotherapy is mind control, or get people to do things they don't want to do, and all that type of stuff. In case there is people that think that or have heard that, that's actually not true at all, because all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, and it's the ability of going into your own thoughts and mind to do healing work or to work on whatever it is that you want to work on. Mainly, people that want to quit smoking, lose weight, or get over phobias and habits and things like that. So just to sort of give it a brief overview of what it is, it's allowing yourself to enter into a state of trance, which is a natural phenomenon anyway. For those people that don't know maybe what that is, it's when you're in a movie and you're just so focused on the movie and lots of stuff going on in the background but you don't notice it. That's a state of trance. And we all go into that naturally a few times a day even. Even maybe you might have noticed people at traffic lights when the lights go green and they're just there still waiting. They're in a trance and you go beep beep and then they go. Their mind wanders, they go into another world. Huh?
Or they're SMSing on their phone.
Well, yes, but sometimes they're not SMSing. They're just looking straight at the light, and it goes green, and they're still there. Anyway, so that's the state that a therapist will aim to get the client to get into, and then from that state, the client's in their own world, and they can do their work. There's a famous psychotherapist, also hypnotherapist named Milton Erickson. And he basically left a quote. What clients don't realise is that when they come to see you, when they come to see you with their problems, they actually walk in also with their solution. Well, your job is as a therapist is to link the two in their mind and help them achieve that. So anyway, I know my time's probably not up, but that's pretty much all I'd like to say, and thank you for listening.
Make someone quack like a chicken.
Not if you want.
Thanks, Tony. Pamela. Pamela is going to read a story from Japan called Sumo Wrestling.
Yes, part of my memoir.
Part of the memoir.
We were now in Japan, and we were travelling all over Japan, and we had a gentleman called Koji-san, who was our interpreter and travelled with us. You like see sumo wrestling? Koji-san was enjoying showing us his land and culture. On our day off, we took taxis to a large enclosed stadium. Come, Koji-san shouted. I take you to back. You meet sumo. How live, how eat. We followed him in anticipation. We never heard of this type of wrestling and were lucky to be taken backstage. Many Japanese would have loved to win a lottery ticket to be in our shoes. It's their national sport. Several large sumo wrestlers, clothed in black cotton kimonos, sat in a circle around a large cooking pot. Their shiny black hair was swept up into a small knot on the top of their heads. I'd seen wigs, an exact replica of their hairstyle, in the shop in Ginza. Some of them were eating small tangerines with a pile of skins stacked at their sides. Smiling at us, they pointed at the food, as Koji-san explained. Much training, 20 oranges a day, cooking pot many vegetables, herbs, good for strong and fat. Mr. Sumo stood up and spoke to Koji-san and Robert. They all disappeared. It was strange. For several minutes we were dummies, not knowing what to expect. Unannounced, Robert appeared as a 5'5" naked mortal, apart from a loincloth with a 6.5 feet tall fat wrestler clad in a larger loincloth towering above him. Belly aching with laughter, we couldn't stop. David was about to defeat Goliath. Still laughing, Robert showed us his prowess, displaying small muscles on his arms, strutting around ready for the kill. Mr. Big Guy laughed too. Time for action. On a makeshift circle filled with sand used for their practice, they crouched down to face each other. Serious. Game on. They threw a pinch of sand over their backs for good luck. Charge. Uncontrollable laughter continued as Robert was flung out of the ring in nanoseconds. Mr. Big Guy took us outside to a cafe to grab a bite to eat before the match. We were going to see a live performance. He kept looking down at me and was close by my side. Oh no, was my long black hair attracting him? Safe, I smiled back as he led us into the upper seats of the stadium, and we bowed, as was the custom, to thank him for his wonderful hospitality. The stadium was full to capacity before the wrestling began. A grandiose procession commenced, with all the sumo champions wearing belts with apron-like attachments full of bold corporate designs over their loincloths, walking into the ring to tremendous applause. Wrestling bouts commenced as the referee announced each contestant. Surreal, each bout lasted the maximum of 1 minute. I hated European wrestling, boxing, football or rugby. Watching swimming, tennis or athletics was a joy to observe. At the half-time break, Koji-san, noting our dour faces, suggested returning to the hotel. We smiled and a few of us said domo, meaning thank you. In a town somewhere in the middle of Japan, Koji-san asked us if we'd like to visit a shrine dedicated to the phallus. We jumped at the chance. They would have dedicated one to man's family jewels in Europe. Did this mean man ruled and women had no say in their society? Leaving shoes outside, we entered the sacred small building and passed an indoor pond with goldfish a foot in length swimming among rocks and green fernery. Entering a room at the back, a skylight shed light onto a large grey circle on the ground. The phalluses appeared to be made of steel as they glistened in the light. Big, small, fat and thin, they rose up strong. We stared in disbelief for a few seconds. Were they the departed ones or made by skilled craftsmen? Bowing our heads in homage, we left. That's it.
Joan is going to read some short stories, or a short story, and some poems. Come on up.
Thank you. Oops. I'm going to do a little skite too. Some time ago, I wrote a children's poetry book. I've got a few left, so if anybody's got any children, any grandchildren, none of you look old enough to have too many grandchildren, or any nieces or nephews.
And Joni just turned 90.
I didn't have a lot to do with that. First, I think I'll read the short story. I don't want to give too much away about this, but it's about two sisters that I know quite well. I'm hungry, was the petulant plea of the 4-year-old, eyeing off the small plate of peanut butter sandwiches, hiding behind the dainty curtain on the second shelf of the dresser. She had dragged a chair up and found the shelf just out of reach. "Get down," yelled Josie. "You know, Mummy said we had to wait till we heard the whistle blow. Then we should have lunch." Being 2.5 years older, Josie felt responsible and sometimes allowed her surrogate mother position to indulge in a little bossiness, much to Lucy's annoyance. Josie was often left in charge when her mother started her part-time job in a local factory. She often found Lucy quite a handful. It was the beginning of the 1930s, when the Great Depression was rampant. Unemployment rife, accommodation scarce, social services almost unheard of, and families were struggling. Their father was off on the wallaby track, as it was termed, seeking employment. They were housed in a small 2-storied terrace, not far from a local brewery, which announced midday to its workers for a change of shift, with a blast of a shrill whistle, Josie's timepiece. Often left to their own devices, the children sometimes played on the swings in the nearby playground. But the rainy day prevented outdoor activities, so it was books and drawings filling the gap. Lucy became bored, leaving Josie absorbed in her book. The mischievous toddler ignored the reprimand. Lucy went back to her chair. If she couldn't get those sandwiches, she would try for the little box on the shelf lower. In no time, she had the match out, struck it just like Daddy did, and was entranced by the flickering flame. At Josie's cry of horror, she dropped the match, which quickly curled in hungry flame around the lacy edge of the curtain. Josie, in sheer terror, sent her book flying, her chair tumbling, and grabbing hold of Lucy, dragged her onto the small landing above the stairs. Lucy's screams of fright and Josie's desperate yells of "Help! Fire!" brought the boarder from downstairs, bounding up 2 at a time. He had just greeted his wife on his return from the night duty as a security guard. He soon had the fire quenched, leaving the little kitchen in a sorry state of welcome for the young mum on her return. Comforting and calming the children, the couple took them into their care for the day. Through the years, Lucy and Josie, perhaps because of their diverse natures, or because of the effect of a dysfunctional childhood, drifted apart. Josie, ever conciliatory, had eventually encouraged a reunion. On one such occasion, she queried her ageing sister, "Do you recall setting fire to the curtains that day?" "Yes," was the reply. "And you were going to run me into the police station?" No, said Josie. When I was asked what I would have done if the people hadn't been downstairs, I said I'd run and get the policeman across the road to help us. Well, we were fortunate to get through that ordeal. Perhaps if I had not been so pedantic about the whistle, it might never have happened. The sisters agreed on that occasion. Haven't got time for the poem.
Next time.
Next time, if I'm still here.
Should we sing happy birthday?
Thank you.
When was your birthday?
On the 8th of the 8th.
That was my birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joan. Happy birthday to you.
I feel much younger now.
Okay.
Just settling in for a month.
Gay is going to, well, it's got a question mark. Poetry.
I don't know what I'm going to do really.
Uh-oh.
Prepared tonight, really. I was going to dress up as a fairy and sing "Nobody Loves a Fairy When She's 40." It's not funny. I'm just 40. But I really look so bad that I didn't think it would be laughable, really. But people might cry, so I didn't really have anything else much prepared. So I'm going to read a couple of poems. And this one in particular seems to have a theme to it, so which I'll talk about later. Wasn't it nice when your eyes were on your face? When you didn't have to look for them all over the place? No one warned me about the changes to my person, and as I raced through the years, I was absolutely certain that, like a good wine, I'd get better with time. So this is a guide for those whose age is similar to mine. Now, what did I come into this room to do? And why am I holding a blue suede shoe? But I digress. The first thing to mention is your hair. It disappears from your eyebrows, your head, and everywhere. But what alarms you is when you find it again, growing with gay abandon all over your chin. And you find with surprise a moustache on your lip. Hair removal cream and tweezers give it the slip. This shoe must be a clue as to what I'm to do, but let me return to what I'm telling you. It appears to me that I'm showing some wear, and the wrinkles are there along with less hair, and my figure has blossomed into something much bigger. And there has been some sagging to my hourglass figure. The womanly curves are now mountainous hills. But wait, let me tell you about all my pills. I've got pink pills for my stomach, white pills for the pain, little round pills to stop something from happening again, and I'm really not sure what the little green ones are for, and I've just dropped the big white ones onto the floor. It takes up some time to sort out medications, but if one is not taken, it may cause complications. Well, tonight I'm going to the pub for a meal with Sophie, Julie, Mary Ann and Lucille. It'll be nice if we all remember to come. But I'll wear my blue suit with my hair in the bun. Oh, I remember what I'm supposed to do. I have to find the other blue suede shoe. So I'll say goodbye and go and search and see if I can find the shoe. I can go out to tea. Now, where did I put my glasses? Because without them I can't see. This poem is about something I seem to be doing a lot of as I'm getting older, much to the embarrassment of my children. I seem to be seen in the nude a lot. I mean, it's not a pretty sight, but I mean, the electrician saw me accidentally in the nude twice, and then he resigned. Sad, isn't it, really? Some people haven't got much stamina, have they? And the other one was when I was coming out of the shower, and coming into my bedroom, and the curtains were closed, pulled, but as I came I noticed that they were open this much, And there, next door, was the man next door having a smoke, walking around the backyard, and I thought, oh, he's going to see me. And I rushed over and I pulled the curtain the wrong way. Ta-da! And he was such a gentleman. He was smoking and he saw me and he went... and disappeared. It was very nice of him, really. It's just something that I'll have to look carefully at because it's happening a bit much. This is another one. Readying for work, we heard a familiar sound, but this sound was louder, much closer to the ground. Wondering what it was, we raced for the door. The sound was clearer than we'd heard it before. Out onto the patio, and oh, what a surprise! A huge yellow balloon like a morning sunrise hanging a few feet above our backyard. And the people in the basket were staring at us hard. This is true. For a long moment, silence reigned, and I wondered why no greetings were exchanged. I thought hospitality should start with me, so I raised my hand to greet happily. Waving a welcome, I looked down by chance to find that I was in my bra and underpants. I slapped my thighs and turned and ran, thus showing the other side of this grand. Now I'm more careful about what I wear, most particularly when it comes to my underwear, because one never knows when it may be on display. Undies not immaculate were thrown away that day. I'll never forget the look of the people in the basket, and how they looked at me in the strangest way. Poor souls couldn't run from what they saw, and they'd never seen the likes of me in my undies before. And the neighbours all blamed me because the balloons don't come over that way anymore. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Gay. Now, something I forgot to mention earlier is that Untitled, so this is a little book, anthology of short stories that we publish. We had a little bit of a hiatus, mainly because there's a lot of work that goes into this, so we were a bit tired after doing 7 issues. So we're now doing number 8. So if you have any short stories that you would like to submit, we have some little printouts here of some information about it, and there's also information about it on our website. So this is, we usually have about 14 or 15 stories, depending on how long they are. All of the authors get paid for their story. It's not a huge amount, but it is something. It's nice to get paid for your writing, and you'll also get a couple of copies of the book. And we will be launching that March, April next year. So let us know, and we have quite a lot of our reading team or our editing team here tonight. So if you want to know, if you have any questions about it, you might be able to suck up to someone or slip $50 to someone, who knows. But yeah, if you have some questions, let us know. Another thing that we have coming up next month is a book writing boot camp. So this is a 2-day weekend held here at Busybird Publishing. So for instance, our fellowship winner this year could come to this for free. It is actually valued at $550. We have an early bird special that finishes tomorrow for $395. It is a really intense weekend that will help you to plan, write, publish and market your book. So it's a really good grounding workshop, if you like, or grounding session. Well, there's a whole lot of sessions that will really help you in whether you're going to self-publish or not. It's actually a really useful thing for you to learn all of the ins and outs of publishing, give you some good writing skills as well as marketing, because the marketing of the book, for any of you here who have a book, you know how hard it is once you have the book. The marketing of it is tricky. So that is actually the 20th and the 21st of October here at Busybird. So, who shall we have next? Jackie Richards. Jackie has got a story, or is telling us a story called Family Lost and Found. Here.
This
this is a true story. Many of you don't know. My parents split when I was young. I lost track of my birth. Okay. How do I broach a tricky subject of my birth father with my mother, who hasn't long lost her husband of 43 years? And I thought, okay, I know. I'll say I'm going to do the family tree. I'm going to do some ancestry stuff. And I need to know about my birth father. I'm going to do the Irish side because he was Irish, and the Scottish side because she's Scottish. I don't want her to feel left out. Did she remember when he was born, his date of birth? So I could get some records. No, he was younger than her. That was all I got. Okay, fine. Said to my brother, what do I do? What do I do? What do I need to find out? I don't know. Marriage certificates? That might have a date of birth where we could find him. We knew his name. John Raymond Conroy. He's Irish, and he's from the west of Ireland in an area where Conroys are like Smiths in England. Okay, marriage certificate, fine. Where did they get married? I don't know. We were born in Kettering. Maybe ask at the Kettering Registry Office. No record of a John Raymond Conroy and an Isabel Marshall Meikle. Okay, I went back to my mother. Where did you come to marry our birth father, John? Lanark. Oh, Lanark, Scotland. Of course, she's Scottish, they met in Scotland. Fine, okay. Brother, Lanark Registry Office, go and find out some information. There's a Lanark North and a Lanark South. Which one? I don't know! Ask them both! Okay. Eventually we found a marriage certificate. Very interestingly, my birth father, John, was 18 when he married my mother at 22. It was just a month before his 19th birthday. They got married in the December. Great. We have a name, we have a date of birth. My brother can now go to Ireland and ask the Irish registry offices, do they know this man? So he inquired at Roscommon Registry Office. No, nobody of that. Not that particular Conroy name combination. Oh shit. Right. Have we tried the Dublin Central Registry Office? Oh, no. Okay. Send the brother off to... I was just sitting here in Australia and he's going off doing all this research. And he's giving me updates every now and then. Eventually, we find John Raymond Conroy, born the 4th of January 1946, to parents Kathleen, can't remember her surname to be honest with you, and another John, who were married on the 14th of January 1946. Slight discrepancy in the dates there, but I think he may have been born early. Great. We knew his name, his date of birth, where he was born, his parents' names. Right, now we just needed to find him. Okay, so my brother, having been told many years ago that he came from Roscommon, went to the local telephone directory, as you do, and he wrote to the Conroys in the area, saying, do you know this man? He was born here, these were his parents, I'm trying to find him. And he gave his name, email address, phone number, please contact me. He sent the letter on a Monday, 2 years ago. On the Wednesday, he had a phone call. Hello there, is that Michael Richards? Yes. I'm your Uncle Michael. We had found an uncle. Unfortunately, our father had died aged 37. But he had a daughter that we didn't know about. And she'd been trying to find us. Because she wasn't told she had 2 half-siblings until she was 23, when her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. So, we found not a father, but we found a sister. And so, since then, I have met my sister, and I have met my uncle and my aunt, and I apparently have relatives in New York.
I love, does anyone here like watching Who Do You Think You Are? Yeah. It's a bit like, it was like an episode of that. Cool. A lot of fun. Stephen Dagata. is going to read a story called Nonsense and Stuff.
This is my take at short story writing. It was the morning after the day before. The night fell in between, but I slept through most of that. The day before was uneventful. In fact, it was damn boring. So I'll spare you a vivid description, but if I describe it, it would be the same description as the day before that, and the day before, and well, you get the picture. Oh, you don't? Well, here goes then. It's a bit like the movie Groundhog Day. I never really got that movie until I started working a regular job. Everything is so damn predictable. The radio alarm goes off in the morning, and I swear it's the same bloody song playing each and every day. I get up, I wash and shave, have a quick breakfast and leave for work. The drive to work is done in full autopilot mode. No, the car does not have the kit for autonomous driving. It's just that I get to the car park near the office without any conscious thought of the journey. I park the car and walk towards the office. As I approach the laneway next to the commercial hotel, the same green Mitsubishi backs out in front of me and I stop to let it pass. I then walk down the laneway past a fresh puddle of vomit, which has replaced the puddle of vomit that was there the day before. I get to the office, I open the door, and the same colleague who always approaches me a few moments after me, and we exchange pleasantries as I make my way to my desk to settle into assessing the same mundane applications that I work on day in and day out. So now it's morning again. I stumble into the bathroom half asleep to attend to bodily movements and general hygiene. The bodily movements are generally unavoidable, but do I really need to shower every morning? It's not like I do anything during the day to get myself super dirty. Then there's the whole deodorant thing. Who was it that first decided that our natural odours were unpleasant? I'm sure that other societies who don't bother with such things would think that we smell decidedly odd because of all the perfumes we use. I rummage through my dresser drawers to find a clear pair of socks. As I pull them on, I reflect on how wonderful socks are. Can't see how these hipster types get by without them. So uncomfortable having bare ankles and having nothing to protect your feet from the shoe leather. I wonder if the sock feels the same way about covering my feet. Does it feel appreciated for the warmth it provides? Does it know that it's under threat by crazy hipsters? I've put on especially thick ones today to guard against the frosty winter air. What bliss it is to have warm, cold feet. I continue dressing and reach for a tie. Quite obtuse, this tie thing. Where did it come from? Why do I feel that I'm not properly dressed for certain occasions without one? I mean, seriously, on most occasions it is literally a pain in the neck. Some people go on about how strange it is to see Islamic women wearing a hijab or a burqa, but at least they can rationalise their clothing choices against their faith. What in heaven's or hell's name is the rationale for a tie? But here I am, wearing a business shirt, which is soon to be covered by a suit jacket, and I feel compelled to add a tie to the mix. Totally bonkers. Fully dressed, I head to the kitchen for breakfast. I didn't know I'd been fasting, just thought I was sleeping, but breakfast it is. Could eat anything I want, but I always go for the cereal and crumpets. Crumpets, one of life's comfort foods. The worst thing you can do with a crumpet is not toast it for long enough. I find that 1.5 cycles in the pop-up toaster is about right. Topped off with butter and honey. Very yummy. As I raise my second crumpet to my mouth, a huge blob of melted butter mixed with honey drips onto my shirt front. I quickly wipe it off, but it leaves a visible stain. Damn it all, what to do? I'm sure no one at work notices what I wear anyway, so they wouldn't notice a stain. Damn it to hell, I can't do it. I have to change my shirt. Shit, some of it's got a tie as well. Do I really need to bother with this? Is this a sign from a higher power? Bugger it, I don't need to conform. Time to buck the trend. I leave the house wearing a Looney Tunes t-shirt I bought from the movie world about 5 years ago, a pair of cargo shorts and thongs. couldn't bear to take my socks off though, so I put the socks between my big and second toes to make sure the thongs will fit. I head to the car and think to myself, what if I took the bus instead? Stupid idea, I quickly talk myself out of it. Drive down towards the busy main road. Always tricky to do a right-hand turn at this time of the morning. I make a snap decision and decide to turn left. Not sure how this will help me get to work, but what the hell. I arrive at work about 90 minutes late, give or take 20 minutes. I park a couple of blocks away because my usual park is taken. I make my way to my desk seemingly without anyone noticing me, but by the time I logged into my computer, I found myself surrounded by a band of concerned-looking colleagues. Steve from Finance asks, "You right, mate?" "Never better," I reply.
But was the crumpet good? Rosemary, lucky last. Reader for the night. Has anyone not put their name down who wanted to read? No?
Alison wanted to read.
Next month. Next month.
Oh, okay.
Next month we're going to have a story about football. And maybe a football crush. Rosemary's going to read. Rosemary's going to read some vignettes on love and death.
Going to try to read this without my glasses. I've been told I don't look up fast enough. All right. First vignette: the touch, the pain, the exquisite pain, with a side serve of pleasure, rushing. I've got to read my glasses. Okay, rushing like a torrent of rain, sliding down a muddy mountainside with nowhere to go but down, down, down to the depths. A mere touch, that's all it was, and accidental too. Flashback to last night. The indomitable Vince Jones is performing. Ravaged by years of alcohol and substance abuse, his husky, honeyed voice still rolls like water in an ever-flowing stream, charming the rocks beneath it into smooth, velvety submission. The room is dark and minimal, serious jazz in its best setting. Jones is looking downwards through each song. Surely he's not using a teleprompt. The girl leans to the man on her right, the man she adores. He, burned from a previous relationship, holds his heart in a steel cage, impenetrable, and thus deliciously desired. As the girl leans back to whisper, he leans forward to listen. And at that moment, when he is leaning forward and she is leaning backward, her head rests ever so fleetingly on his shoulder, and she melts. The beguiling feel of a male-shouldered headrest. She catches her breath, whispers, "He's forgotten the words." He agrees, yes, he's reading them. She returns to her former position, he to his. All thoughts of Vince's transgression has rapidly been replaced by those of hands caressing, lips kissing, flesh enveloping. Time for some iced water. Overwhelmed. The 21st party is in 12 days' time. The venue cancelled at the 11th hour, and now it's being held in their own backyard. A marquee festooned with fairy lights and rice paper lanterns is hired to set the mood. Next, a caterer, a birthday cake supplier, and a 52-inch screen for the slideshow. Damn, the speech. Yes, that too is added to the ever-growing list. And mortgage the house for the alcohol supply. She alone does all this. Tag, you're it, the everlasting mantra of the single parent. Her ex-husband will not attend. Too busy and important, you see. She would like to reach for the phone and kick his sorry ass verbally, but she won't. Right, she says, let's get on with it, the party's gonna rock. Third, alone. Her dad died on Thursday, ravaged by emphysema. A single parent, holding down several jobs and also studying at uni. She is immersed in guilt that her father lived in a nursing home and not with her. In true single mum fashion, she cuts herself no slack. She doesn't tell her brother, the brother who hasn't seen their father in 23 years, because he didn't tell her when their mother died. She deals with this alone, the pain tightly etched on her face, unyielding. Meanwhile, his self-absorbed son refuses to do his chores, saying he is grieving. His Facebook status roars, "Why is everything happening to me?" And she, shoulders hunched, shoulders on. Lastly, the year of deaths. Death visited again last Tuesday. Lulu, the family's beloved dog, an Arabian Saluki, died gasping for air with paralysis of the throat. Less than 10 months earlier, the husband collapsed with a fatal heart attack, leaving behind a widow, 2 children, and an uncertain future. The eldest, who refused to acknowledge her father's death thus far, at last did upon learning of Lulu's. "This is the year of deaths, Mummy," the 6-year-old stated matter-of-factly. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. So, does anyone have any announcements or anything happening that they'd like to talk about? No? Have I forgotten to say anything? Kev?
Vote for us.
Vote for us. Oh, yes. We were nominated in the Banyul Biz Awards, and you can vote until the 23rd. I don't know what today is, but maybe the end of this week. So we actually have, if you just happen to want to vote for tonight, we actually have it open on the computers there, so we can help you work out how to do it if you need help. So don't forget, if you have any short stories that you would like to submit for Untitled, you can. There's some information here. It will also be in our mailing list in our monthly newsletter. If you don't get our monthly newsletter and would like to, make sure you put your name on the list, which is on the table there. Also, the actual Entitled, the 7 versions of it, or different issues of it, are here for sale. So if you want to buy some, you can do that. Don't forget, if you think that you have a submission, an idea that you could submit for our fellowship, feel free. So the kind of things that would get a fellowship would be if you're working on a novel and you need some help with it in terms of mentorship, or if you have some other book idea. It can be non-fiction, it doesn't have to just be fiction. It doesn't just have to be writing, but some kind of story idea that you think that we can help with. Obviously, if it's outside of the realms of what we do here, we can't really help you, and we would give it to someone who we think we can help. But have a chat to us if you're not really sure if you fit that. So, we need to do the giveaway Les Zig's book.
Unfortunately, he's not here tonight.
Thank you. Has everyone got their ticket ready for the door prize? This is my age. A50. Did I see someone with a hand up?
I do. I'm just trying to find a ticket.
You remember your number? You remember that you had A50?
50.
You had 50? Cool. Then you have won the book. So thank you everyone for coming. The recording of our open mic nights usually goes up maybe the end of the week, early next week, depending on how much other things are happening in the studio, if Kev can get it done. So look out for it. You can just, I think Les puts a link up on our, do you put a link up on our website? Yeah, Les puts a link on our website to the latest episode, so you can always go there if you're wondering. And hang around, have some tea and coffee or wine or whiskey. We have a bottle of whiskey there if you really want some whiskey. Thanks for coming. And one more thing. So we only have 2 more open mic nights for the year, would you believe? So we have next month, which is October, and then November, which will be our last one for the year, number 60. Wow. Open Mic Night number 60. It will also be like our Christmas party. And this year we're going to ask everyone to bring a plate. And if you want to come to a bit earlier, we have dinner earlier, then we start our normal open mic night. But that's when we will announce the fellowship. What else will happen then? Anything?
The theme of the party.
Yeah, we'll have a dress up. You have to come as your favourite writer.
Can I come as myself?
Yeah. Yeah, so it can be a character from your favourite story. If you have a favourite book, that wouldn't work because mine is Watership Down. So a character or a writer or something literary. Usually we have a bird theme, but we've done that a few years in a row, so we thought it was time for something different. What else? That's it. Thank you. See you next month.
Oops.